Story 1. A few years ago I matched with a guy on Tinder. To be clear, I was identified as CF on my profile, and so was he on his profile. We matched and started texting, and I again made it clear that I don't mind kids, but I did not want the responsibility of any. I wanted to live my life for me. He claimed to be the same. We texted for about 2 weeks before meeting up. I'm super safe that way. And yes, I checked his social media and such. It was pretty sparse, but no red flags. Since mine was the same, I couldn't really say anything. He seemed to post about as much as I did, so all seemed on the up and up. We had a lot of the same likes. Loved music of many genres. He played the guitar and I played the piano and violin. Both liked animals and enjoyed casual hiking. Loved to read, though I've since come to realize he was definitely lying about how much he read. Honestly, he seemed great. We kept things casual for about the first month before we decided to make it official that we were dating exclusively. We saw each other probably 3 to 5 times a week for 6 months. Anything from overnights, his place and mine, to quick lunch dates when we were both busy. Things seemed to be going great. I met his friends, he met mine, and we made plans to meet each other's family over the holidays. Then comes the talk. You know, the one where you're more than casually interested and actually starting to think long-term about a partner? The one where you make sure you're on the same page about long-term life goals and ambitions? So we are having dinner and I let him know I'm on track to retire at 40 to 45, and that I want to move to Europe and travel extensively. Take up writing and art again. I'm trying to delicately get around to what his financial situation is like. If he's got hundreds of thousands in debt, I need to bail. But if he's only marginally in debt, I'm willing to invest in the relationship at this point because he seems so great. Funny, smart, kind, hot as hell, and a damn good lay. LOL. So it happens. He literally knocks me dumb as he takes my hand and looks deep into my eyes and tells me there's something he's been keeping from me. I'm thinking he's about to let me know he's so far in debt that he'll be working until he's 90. Nope. He's got kids. This motherfucker had 3 kids. And not only that, he has sole custody. I'm literally stunned speechless as I listen to him explain to me that the condo we're currently sitting in is in fact not his house but his single brother's, who agreed to let him use it for our dates so his parents can watch his kids at his house since their apartment isn't kid-proofed. I remain speechless as he explains he didn't tell me earlier because he was afraid I would stop speaking to him, and that he can't bear to lose me because I'm the most amazing woman he's ever met. He tells me he wants to spend the rest of his life with me, and I'll be such an amazing mother to his kids because I'm so smart and level-headed and not a drama queen at all. This bastard then goes on to say that instead of me retiring early, I should sell my house and help him pay off his mortgage and debt, and then we can save to put all 3 of his kids through college, and once they graduate they can get good jobs and send us to Europe on vacation. I just sat there staring at this fucker as he looks at me with such an excited expression on his face. Like he already had the next few decades of our lives planned out, and fully expecting me to be jumping with joy that he sprung his little brood of mini-me's on me like it is some fantastic surprise. Planned in a way that was the exact opposite of my child-free life plan I had been upfront with him about from day one. I literally didn't say anything once I came back to my senses. I just stood up, grabbed my bag, and walked out. He of course followed me and kept telling me I was overreacting and please come back so we can have an adult conversation. He tried to keep me from getting in my car, and I finally faced him and told him I was 1 second away from dialing 911. He finally stepped aside and told me he'd be waiting for my phone call when I finally calmed down and was ready to be rational. Over the next 2 months I was forced to change my cell number and threatened to have a restraining order taken against him and his whole family because his mom, his dad, and his fucking brother all started harassing me, blowing up my phone all hours of the day, coming by my house and my work, all of them telling me what a horrible person I must be to hate children so much that I would turn a great guy like him down. It finally stopped when I went to the police. I didn't have enough to get a restraining order, but they did send an officer to his house to tell him to leave me alone. He called one last time to leave me a message and tell me I was going to die a lonely cat lady and he was fucking done with me. And that I was lucky he'd given me the time of day because I wasn't that hot anyways. Story 2. I am a 19-year-old female, and at the time that all of this happened to me I was 17. So just to give some long and necessary background, I was and am still dating a guy named Kyle. We shared a small group of friends. We were all pretty close to each other. We did almost everything together, especially when it involved smoking weed and doing other harder substances. They were pretty chill and trustworthy friends, or so I thought. Anyways, one day 2 weeks before my junior year started, I was hanging out with the group at one of their houses, and I just so happened to fall asleep after a while of being there. I woke up probably 5 minutes later to one of my friends touching my inner thigh. Just to note, I was the only female in the group, and my boyfriend wasn't there when this occurred. He was at show choir practice, so he couldn't have been there even if he wanted to. When the friend touching me noticed I woke up, he immediately stopped, and I ran into the bathroom crying. I've been raped and sexually assaulted before, so just going through it again isn't the greatest feeling. A few minutes passed by and I left the bathroom. I pulled one of my friends aside and told him what happened. His response shocked me. He said he saw what happened, but he didn't stop him. I don't know why he didn't, and I guess I'll never know. But that same friend told me not to tell Kyle, because he didn't want any friendships ruined. Well, I obviously told Kyle after show choir practice, and he was understandably pissed off. We've come to the agreement that we will no longer be friends with them anymore. A few days went by still avoiding the group, and we would receive a lot of messages from them, but they were shocking and hurtful messages saying, "I'm being overdramatic, that it's my fault that it happened, just act like nothing ever happened, he didn't really sexually assault me," and so on. I was pretty destroyed reading all those messages coming from those so-called friends, but for some stupid reason, we all became friends again when school started. I know what you're thinking. Why would we go back to that shitty group of friends? I guess our only lame excuse is that we hate confrontation, and we wanted things to go back to normal. I wanted to feel normal again. Well, obviously it wasn't the best idea taking back those friends, especially the one who touched me, because it started to really affect me mentally. I became super depressed. I developed really bad trust issues with everyone, including my boyfriend. I would constantly have panic attacks throughout the day. I started self-harming again. I was extremely suicidal, and I was failing all of my classes because I rarely showed up to school. The school attendants and staff had no idea what was wrong with me. I would refuse to tell them and my family. But one day came around and I couldn't hold it in anymore. I told my family, and at first they were supportive, but then it quickly changed. I don't really want to go into the details, but for a long time I felt so alone. Later on, around November 2017, my boyfriend did something behind my back with another girl. He didn't cheat on me. He just sold some weed to her. But for some odd reason I mentally got worse. I just didn't know how to cope with anything that has and was happening to me. I started mentally abusing my boyfriend. Like extremely bad to where he hated himself, and I think at some point he even became suicidal. Deep down it made me happy. I wanted someone to feel pain too. But it got so bad to where we broke up twice, but then got back together the same day each time. Now fast forward to around February 2018. One night, that's when it had happened. I was having trouble sleeping, and it was getting late. I also had school the next morning, so I was getting pretty frustrated. Finally, around 1 a.m. I started dozing off. I found myself awake probably about 10 to 15 minutes later. I noticed a tall, dark figure standing across the room in my closet. At first, I thought it was my older brother messing with me because he's done stuff like this before. But as I tried to say his name, I couldn't. That's when I realized I couldn't speak, couldn't move, I was paralyzed. So as I'm staring at this figure in my closet wondering what the fuck is happening, the figure starts moving closer to me. Then I noticed it kind of looks like it was floating towards me. I can feel myself panicking, but I couldn't move or say anything. So when the tall dark figure reached the side of my bed, I kid you not, it bent over and grabbed my nose. Now I couldn't breathe through of my nose or mouth. I'm just staring at this dark figure. Its face was so close to mine, but I couldn't make out any features. I can feel my heart trying to break out of my chest. My lungs are hurting like hell because I couldn't breathe. I legitimately thought I was going to die, but suddenly I quickly sat up, gasping for air, looking around my room for that figure, but it wasn't there. I was scared. I was so scared. I didn't know what just happened. I thought I just had the most realistic nightmare of my life. I mean, I guess that's kind of what happened. The next morning when my boyfriend picked me up for school, I told him about the realistic nightmare. He said, "That's creepy." And that was that. A few weeks later I brought it up to my older brother, and that's when he told me that I actually had sleep paralysis. I had no clue what sleep paralysis is, but after hearing his definition of it and doing some research, I was really freaked out. I read online that stress, anxiety, depression, sleep problems, and some other things can cause sleep paralysis. I realized that everything that had happened to me sort of recently played a big part in my sleep paralysis episode that night. I would be lying if I said I didn't have trouble sleeping for a while after that, but I eventually got over it. But every now and then, I do get a little nervous to go to sleep. Fast forward to now, 2020. Kyle and I are doing really well. Better than ever. We are renting our own apartment. We have 2 cats, and they are absolutely amazing. Our 3-year anniversary is next month, and we are extremely excited. On another note, September 22, 2019, I was diagnosed with extreme depression and anxiety disorder, but I now go to therapy and take medications to help with that. I have never felt better and happier. Oh, and in case you were wondering, we are no longer hanging with those chick friends anymore.